take a moment to stop all thoughts. Cut through all mind streams for a moment. Notice that in the absence of thought, you still exist. That there's something that is beyond thoughts, prior to thoughts. And one more time. Use the force of your will to cut through all mind stream. And if it's just for 1 second, you just stop. Usually, because of the veil that is conditioned mostly to believe yourself to be this body-mind and to grow up in a conditioning that perpetuates that perception of yourself. The ways how you want to get to happiness are always external, and they are specific to you. So some of you will have thought to find that lasting happiness in relationships, in a family, in a partner, in any form of relational contacts, to find lasting happiness in. And then there is a whole bunch of people that is trying to find this happiness in the world of work, success, striving, competition, and to get to a position of leadership, position of power, position of success in work, and to find that lasting happiness in that domain. And then there is a lot of people that are trying to find that lasting happiness in knowledge. It's already usually when more of the materialist objectives have either been found or you made a tick on that box. Then oftentimes when when it goes to knowledge, and then there is an accumulation of knowledge, of scriptures, of any form of scientific knowledge, or just uh, just a form of trying to find lasting happiness in that. And then there's also often a trial to find lasting happiness in typical spiritual contexts. I try to find my lasting happiness within the different religions, dogmas, traditions. Um, and that's also already usually a type of striving or searching that comes after this more material scope has been um, exhausted in a way. And the what you have found, each one of you, is that whatever you are wishing for right now, what you want to attain next, to come to this deep understanding that there's always a next. There's never a true arrival. There's always something that is seemingly missing or seemingly not right or seemingly perpetuates further seeking. And also that this fundamental hope that you always have and that you externalize into a relationship or into more knowledge or into meditating more or into practicing more or into gaining more knowledge, whatever it is, that it doesn't lead to this lasting happiness. There's always a gnawing sense of unfulfillment, no matter actually what you have achieved, how much money you have, how healthy you are, how good your relationships are. There's always this gnawing sense. And so last week, I talked about this fundamental maturity that can come to you, not as something negative, not as some form of giving up, more as a maturity of the soul, to see this, to see phenomenal reality, meaning what is perceivable, yourself, your body, your mind, other people, your circumstances, to see the ephemeral nature of the world, to come to this deep, deep wisdom, to see all is fleeting, and to see that if I this continuous hope for something outside of yourself to render this happiness, that this isn't working. And last week I was talking that Patanjali says this, that all that life inherently, what is inherent to life, the fleeting nature of objects, the constant change within the gunas, change within the qualities of nature, change within our circumstances, our patterns, samskaras, that all of this leads to disturbances in the mind. If I have something that is really, really beautiful in my life, there is a disturbance if it changes, if the situation changes, the relationship changes, something changes. And to see this, to see the fickleness of our mind, what the mind what the mind does with these changes, how difficult it is for the mind to deal with change. Even on a normal day, the change of the gunas, these characteristics in nature, the your own mind structure for those that are more observant of their minds, like this restlessness one day, tiredness, even in your energy body, what all people do, what kind of supplements we take then the next day, because we think, oh, it always has to be the same, trying to somehow find this stasis in the body, stasis in the mind, stasis in my circumstances, stasis in my bank account, stasis in all these things. And to come to this deep wisdom that this lasting happiness cannot be found in the ephemeral world and cannot be found in the mind. That the mind is also then continuously evaluating this ephemeral world. This is sort of the first deep wisdom that you can gain about suffering. And it is, no matter if you are still more engaged on a relative level, yeah, then also you have to have this acknowledgement of your own suffering. If you are on a healing path, if healing is interesting for you in any scope, then you will have to acknowledge your suffering. And on a more existential level, on a more fundamental level for self-realization also, you have to come to this fundamental understanding. Why am I suffering? What is actually causing the pain? What is happening? What in the phenomenal world is causing the mind to be agitated, to understand this change, the fundamental transience of all things that are perceivable, all objects that are perceivable, that they are ephemeral, that their nature is ephemeral. And to come to this wisdom, not just as a thought, but really from your own experience, from your own inner understanding. I cannot find happiness in all these objects, in my spiritual experiences, in my faith, even in whatever it is for you that you invested yourself in for happiness, because happiness is what everyone wants. All humanity wants happiness. No being that doesn't seek happiness on this planet, actually. And so this is the first fundamental wisdom that can mature in someone to really get that, to know this, to stop searching for lasting happiness in objects, in distinct objects, and putting your expectations on it, placing your hope on something external, on something that should render this for you. And this sutta that I want to talk about today is 216, and that's also then super relevant because it doesn't go into a total annihilation. It says, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. It means future suffering is to be avoided. What it says is, yes, It exists in the phenomenal world. All these things cause suffering in the mind, but your suffering is optional. Future suffering can be avoided. There is a path out of suffering. There is a path out of this continuous generation of new suffering, new pain, new lost hope. There is something that helps you out of it. There's a path out of suffering. And this is also super relevant because no, it doesn't have to go on like it does. You don't have to suffer endlessly. And no, you don't have to continuously see what kind of energetic struggle this world is going on right now. And then the next day, and then this, and then this, and then this. There is something that is already free, that is to be discovered, that can be discovered. There is something that isn't subject to change. And even to contemplate this, what in you is subject to change? What in you is suffering? And what isn't? What has no suffering? What is eternally free? There is something that's already here that is eternally free, free of suffering. And to see this. And so he says, hello, this phenomenal plane, there's a lot that can happen if you are so identified with it, if you hope to get happiness out of objects and the next object and the next object and the next object. But you can also avoid this. You can also just stop this endless outside search. Stop with this kind of endeavor. Stop with thinking that, yeah, but then this will give me the happiness. Also, just to see this egotism in it, or the selfishness actually in it, to think that something outside of you will give you something. To come back to knowing something inside me. Can I find this? What is free? What has no compulsions? What isn't reactive? What is content? What is already at peace? What is fulfilled? To come back to knowing, hello, there is there is something that is already fulfilled, that isn't entangled. This tremendous wisdom is in you and in this text, saying, okay, we have now acknowledged there is suffering in the ephemeral world that comes from being identified with this what plays itself out and placing my hope continuously in it. But, hello, heyam dukkham anagatam. Future suffering can also be avoided. There is a path out of this. You don't have to suffer. This isn't just what Patanjali found. This is what you hopefully find. Find stability in what is eternally stable, eternally unchanging. And that is already here. And that isn't just for some people that are somehow eligible. You make yourself eligible by maturing in your wisdom, starting to see this in your own life. Whenever you have placed a hope for happiness in an external object, I also include knowledge, these kind of things, faith, whatever it is. Starting to have this wisdom yourself from your own direct experience, also of life, of seeing this, seeing the suffering in the minds of yourself, in your own mind, the minds of other people, what happens due to change, expectations, patterns, to know this deeply. And then also to bring back the knowing there is something that is not suffering already, right now, there in you. To have this also come back. Something isn't suffering. And no, not even a little bit. Not suffering, free, at peace, fulfilled by itself, in itself. There is a path out of this. And to allow this also, to know this for you. A path for you if you want to, or not. Whatever you still feel you want to experience, you experience. You go for that. Whatever, this is also your path. You go for that. You continue. Whatever it is, whatever it is. Experiences anyways continue. But you find what is free. You find what is already fulfilled. And that can also be a direction. Direction actually coming from a true depth, true maturation, true seeing. I've exhausted all these means. I've looked at everything. I have looked under every stone, and I have not found lasting happiness. So then to know lasting happiness already here, but not to be found outside of yourself, not to be found in what is perceivable. Everything that is perceivable is changing. Deep understanding of matter. What is matter? What are the qualities of matter? And what isn't changing? What is free? So, this sutra, Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. Future suffering is optional. Your future suffering is optional. Do you want to know what is not suffering in you? Namaste. The Yogasutra is an approximately 2,000-year-old text, and I recommend it not just to yoga teachers or any sincere student of yoga, but actually anyone who is truly interested in self-realization or liberation. And also all of you that are very, very subtle in their energetics, very, very subtle in their meditations, because the scope of the book is so enormous. It is really, there's really something in it for everyone. It isn't just about realizing what lies beyond the mind. It is also about union experiences and starting to understand really what happens to the supposed you in a oneness experience, like really knowing what happens when your subjective I, what you actually usually continuously perceive as you, vanishes. How then objects come alive in you, what that entails, but also always then starting to understand what you actually are. Like, how can that even be? And what does that actually then mean for me? What am I truly if this subjective I actually vanishes? And all these kind of questions that I feel more and more people come to, not only because they study that kind of knowledge, but because these kind of experiences are happening to them, because they have become extremely subtle, and in that subtlety transparent to the real you. And so this book is helpful for everyone. It doesn't just belong to a certain denomination. It doesn't even just belong to yoga, even though it is a foundational text of yoga. But it speaks to everyone sincerely interested in self-realization and liberation.